What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick and I talk all about trading and investing, mostly in Forex and stocks. And today we are taking a look at gold because gold is doing something really interesting. It's at a key spot. And whether you're a bull or a bear on gold, whether you think it's going higher or lower, I wanted to point this out to you just because of how important from a technical analysis perspective I find the current level. Now, with that said, if you're new to my channel, do me a big favor, hit that like button down below if you want to see more of this sort of content, if you like trading gold, if you like looking at gold. I'll try and do more of it if there's lots of likes on the video. But with that said, check it out. Gold here made a ginormous drop, a massive drop, all the way from 1920 down to 1750. That's an aggressive pullback here in what was a very, very strong uptrend prior to that. Now what we're seeing is we are seeing a movement to the upside here. And the question is this going to last? Is it going to become a bigger trend to the upside, make our way back to the previous high, etc.? Or is it just another bump in the road before sellers take back up their strength here and push things through the lows? And, it's a hard thing to say because right now we have a lot of fundamental factors that are going into it. And in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a fundamental perspective. I'm going to give you a technical analysis perspective. And then I'm going to show you guys some sentiment analysis that we can do on gold as well. So stay tuned to the very end of this video and let's get into it. Let's start with the technical analysis. So the first thing I want to say with gold is that if you scroll out on the daily chart, you do have lower highs coming in here on this market. Higher time frame, meaning like the daily chart and the weekly, you've got some struggle here for gold. And for a little while, for a while, I thought that this was just a pause before price was going to rally longer, which still may be the case. But for now, it is still giving gold a lot of trouble, obviously, with that recent sell-off back in June when the Fed mentioned, and we're going to talk more about fundamentals in a moment, the Fed basically mentioned that they were looking to aggressively raise rates by more than expected, more specifically 2 times by the end of 2023. So from a technical perspective, we do have lower highs coming into that market, which immediately makes me a little bit cautious with getting overly bullish on gold. However, we did see a beautiful, strong double bottom here back in March and April of this year, 2021. I'm getting my years mixed up now. So we found this beautiful double bottom. We rallied like crazy and things were just, every little dip was getting bought here on the gold market. You can see every little dip being bought until the very end when things just crashed when the Fed basically said what they said. So with that said, that's sort of catching up. This was a period of time where there was a lot of inflationary concern, a lot of weakness on the dollar. And then we recently saw a little bit of a shift back. And now inflation concerns are yet again taking center stage. Now it's really a question from a technical analysis perspective of whether or not this area here, more specifically the 200-day moving average, I do have this one in my scopes right now for the gold market. So this is the 200 SMA on the daily chart. So this is longer term stuff. But what I'm talking about is that this red line here is the 200-day moving average. And it's not a magical indicator by any means, but it does tell us a little bit about the longer term health or strength of a trend, whether it be to the upside or downside. Remember that a moving average generally is viewed as just a overall directional filter. And so with that said, when price is above the 200, we're looking at potentially being long, and then below would be a more of a short sell or a downward trend. So we come right now, if we zoom in, you can see that little red line is right where price action is taking place today on this daily bar. We also have a doji candle forming on the daily bar. So it's a really, really pivotal spot for gold bulls and gold bears because right now we are retesting that 200-day moving average. We were able to make a push underneath it and showed a lot of strength to the downside. And now with this retracement, it's just a question of, can this level hold for sellers and push us lower, or are the buyers going to do a breakout here and really start to push this thing back up? The thing is, I don't know what the Fed is going to do in advance, which is really what's driving the price of gold right now. It's very, very respondent to, are they going to look to raise rates? Are they going to look to taper, et cetera, right? So right now, it does seem like they are holding off on tapering. They are looking to, it's sort of not super optimistic for the Fed right now. However, we'll see if that changes, but that does seem to be what has been driving the price up, especially with inflation concerns, with 3 CPI rotations in a row coming out with high inflation, higher than expected inflation for the dollar and for the US economy. That is definitely a concern and a good thing for the gold bulls. Now, it comes down to this, because at the technical level, you do have a pretty key spot at this 200-day SMA. And watching how this candle closes today, I think has a lot of potential to tell us some clues price action wise of what market participants at least think is going to happen. So for me, with this doji candle, if this closes red or even similar to like this, I would say a very, very good chance that we could see a dip on gold pulling back after retesting this 200-day moving average. Now, I could be wrong in the sense that maybe this thing closes super green today and it shows optimism for the bulls. In that case, we may be headed higher. And so I don't know how this candle is going to close. I'm sort of waiting myself to see how it closes. And if it closes bearish or like a doji kind of looking thing, I would say very possible that we could see a little bit of a dip there. Could see a little pullback on the gold market. And if things really get selling off, you have potential to move right on back down to levels like this, which is 1770, and maybe even beyond. So that's kind of what I'm looking at with the gold market right now, is watching to see if this level holds. Now, on the flip side, from a technical analysis perspective, is if we get a breakout to the upside, let's say you get this level as supply, you do have this previous high to contend with. And that's the big thing I wanted to talk about here. If price is able to break out, we see a big old move to the upside. Let me show you two levels of resistance that I wanted to point out. The first is going to be the 61.8. Okay, this is a deeper retracement for sellers, right? If sellers were to, if we draw the fib from the top to the bottom, you do have a 61.8% retracement right there. If you're not familiar with Fibonacci retracements, you can find more information on my YouTube channel here. I'm sure that you just search up Trader Nick Fibonacci retracement and you should find a video or two. Now, 61.8 is like the first barrier. Should things get bullish, if we break out there, and then looking for that to break out and continue, could be some plays, right? There could be some bullish opportunities and some bearish opportunities depending on what price decides to do and what we hear next from the Fed. I believe we don't have anything major coming from the Fed for the rest of the week, so I'm sort of paused on the fundamental side, but from a technical analysis perspective, we are at a very key spot on the daily chart. Now, if we look at the 4-hour chart, you can kind of see that we hovered around this area for a while. We finally were able to break up. So if you are a bull on gold, I would say if you think it's going to break, if you think it's going to keep going and that inflation concerns are there, watch this level here at this previous break point, right? You had a lot of pressure built up there, and then finally price was able to break. So you may have some bulls who are still ready to buy this thing should we see a bit more of a dip there. So keep an eye on that one for sure. For gold. And like I said, next targets to me would be 61.8. You can mark it out here on the 4-hour chart, pretty clean. That level in resistance right around 1850. And then from there, if price is able to break there, you might see some walking setups. Like for example, walk, break higher, pick up some longs, break higher. And if it does want to continue, you can kind of continue and repeat the process. That is one of my more favorite styles of trading. So with that said, let me also talk about, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about sentiment analysis here for a moment. I'm going to head over to the website, a1trading.com. If you're not already using our site, we have tons of tools that we've put together. You can grab them anytime you want, 100% free. And if we just go over to the COT data here, I wanted to look at gold to see what the institutional traders are doing over there. So let's go take a look. We're going to click on gold right here. And the most recent data, I've already looked at it, so spoiler alert, I know that they had already done a little bit of buying recently. So what we can see is if we zoom in just a little bit, as of July 5th, there was an increase in the interest of gold. So that was kind of an interesting perspective. You do see gold getting picked up there pretty aggressively in the latest COT report. So we could see, like I said, that could be a driving force for gold. If we see another week or two, that would definitely be very optimistic. Sometimes with the COT report, you get these long extended periods of buying to look out for, and conversely, extended periods of selling. So I do like to keep an eye on the COT report myself. If anything, that tells us that we may have some short-term uptrend power, right, which we've already kind of started to see play out. I would watch, like I said, for a potential breakout of these levels up to the 61.8. I do like other technical bounces like a break and retest of that 61.8 if it does fail for sellers. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you back in the next video.